think this first ever open here at Hastings Contemporary is really important because it sees us opening our doors and celebrating the richness of the community, the artistic, creative community here, not just in Hastings or St Leonard's, but also in the whole of Sussex, and really celebrating the incredibly high quality and real range of media and ambition that we've seen in the works that are in this show. It was really important to me and the panel that we were not just recognising the quality of art that could be made in the region, but also making a really beautiful, impactful, powerful, elegant exhibition. And I think in selecting works, we were looking for artists that were showing the range of what could be achieved in the region, but also artists who are really working at the top of their game, that are making work that is confident and that we knew our audience and the visitors to the gallery would really embrace. And we were also looking for a range of diversity, thinking about those different audiences that come to the gallery, wanting to be sure that there was something for everybody, something that would touch them, something that would inspire them, something that might make them want to acquire that work for their own home and therefore invest themselves into the artistic creativity and livelihood of the region. I think it's really important to know that we judged the open completely blind. So we were going very much on the quality of the work and the impact that the work had on us as a judging panel when we were selecting it. So it's always a pleasant surprise when you realise that you have artists of international reputation and also emerging artists as part of that mix. And I think when you bring them together, it actually helps elevate everything very, very effectively. And it makes it all the more diverse, all the more powerful when you understand how that range of artists working in that range of media can sit together and be a collective voice for the entire region. I think it's really important that this exhibition and the artists who submitted to this exhibition were embracing the mission that we now have at Hastings Contemporary, which is really to look at the idea of ocean futures and sustainability through the lens of visual art and culture. And I think that, and the reason why that's important to us in this gallery is basically because of where we are. We're probably the only gallery in this country that actually sits on the beach. The impact of what's happening in our oceans has an impact on the lives of everybody that lives in this town and along the coast in Sussex. The fisherman's catch is changing. That industry is changing as a result of climate change in the seas. And the fact that the artists that are here in Sussex are also recognising that fact and embracing it in a lot of the work that's been made, I think is very important and sits very comfortably with exactly what we're trying to have conversations about here at Hastings Contemporary. But at the same time, the message has to be communicated in that way that allows people to access it in different ways. It's a much more subtle conversation in the way that artists can often bring your attention to a subject matter in a way that's less obvious. And I think that's what the artists do in this exhibition. There's a richness to the conversations around climate change, around sustainability, that all of these artists collectively bring in this exhibition.
So I won't be lying when I say it was a very difficult decision to come up with our favourite pictures in the open. But if I had to choose one, I really am drawn to the bits of art that sort of represent the natural world, and the painting of the cephalopod was the one for me. What can I say? I like a squid, and very beautifully done, very beautiful depiction of a natural scene. Yeah, despite the fact that there were what, nearly 2,500 entrants, it was quite a civilized judging process. I thought I'd be fighting Chris Packham at one point over a picture of a badger, but that never happened. Maybe next year. It's been an incredible experience. It's been wonderful to see the amount of just incredible, versatile talent that is in this corner of the United Kingdom. I've been honestly blown away.
A work that I really loved today was Alexander Rajo's Big Sur. such a beautiful painting of the sea, but the sea as another place, kind of swimming pool in the front, and then just an endless pool of water behind it. There's just something so kind of otherworldly and full of possibilities in that painting.
Picking a favourite is inordinately difficult. The competition was extremely strong, but at risk of harm, I'm going to go for two. Firstly, Murmuration Cloud is a photograph of starlings taken by Chris Harrison. And I've looked at plenty of starling murmurations, but what I like about this one is that he's introduced a very powerful artistic component. This isn't a photograph of birds. This is birds as a subject for a piece of art photography. The frame is split in half between sea and sky, and in the centre of that, he's got a ball of starlings. And so that's extremely fortuitous, and I think it makes for a striking image. In a field where there's lots of competition, murmuration photographs are always very popular. However, Shirley Chubb painted Sea Night, and this is an abstract, and it's very clever. So essentially, a rectangular black field with lines, white lines, painted on it, which get closer together as they move to the midpoint horizon. And it looks like moon shining on the water, moonlight on the water. It's amazingly smart. So little in it, but able to say so much and evoke a feeling of being there on the shore with the moon glimmering on a still sea at night. So I think that would have to be my favourite. I'd certainly give it wall space. It's been a real pleasure to play a small role in judging this competition. I was astounded by the quality of entries and the breadth of media that we used. Lots of ceramics, which were great. One or two bronzes thrown in there, a mix of figurative and abstract too. But what I particularly like and what draws me to these sorts of things essentially is what I call outsider art. So this is art that's being created by people who haven't gone through official training. Maybe they haven't been to art college, they haven't exhibited before, but nevertheless, they harbour a deep passion to express themselves through artistic media. And so sometimes their work can be primitive, sometimes it can be extraordinarily accomplished at the end of the day, but they're unrecognised artists, and this gives us the chance to recognise their amazing skills and put them on the wall. And I like that because I'm a bit of an outsider artist myself. I trained as a zoologist, but I've always had that yearning to do something unspeakable with a brush or something hard-nosed with a piece of steel or bronze. So from my point of view, that's why I like these open competitions. And to think that they're all going to be lined on these walls later this year is a treat. So yes, I've very much enjoyed taking part. Making that tough decisions is always very difficult, and I always feel ultimately guilty that I might have the opportunity to look around and see one or two pieces which I think were brilliant but didn't make it through. Don't blame me. Listen, blame those other judges, not me.
Yeah, to be honest, the theme of Odyssey, I was finding it quite difficult. I decided I'd enter the open, and I don't do many paintings of the sea, and they said they wanted it to be to do with sea. And I had a few that loosely fitted, and I thought, I'll see if anything else comes before the deadline. And then one day, I was in my studio at the end of a session. I had this little painted door, and I didn't like what was in the middle of it. It was an unfinished painting, had been sitting there for a few months. And I just happened to have this turquoise paint on my palette that was the right colour. And so I blocked out what was in the middle. And then this image just came into my mind, and I painted it on top of the turquoise very quickly. The image is of a drowning man. It's something I saw in September last year, and it's been living inside me a lot of the time because it was quite a traumatic thing. We went in the sea with a man, me and my friend Liz, and then we came out of the sea. And when I looked back, he looked as though he was meditating on the surface of the water very peacefully. But we realized quite quickly he was unconscious, and we were involved in dragging him out of the sea. And here he is in my painting. And it was only a few days later when I'd finished the painting that I realized that's a wonderful, fitting image for Odyssey. It's a journey, it's a spiritual journey, it's the journey to whatever lies on the other side of the door. We don't know. But in my fantasy, these are the spirits in the other world who are calling him almost. Someone was just describing to me how she nearly drowned and how what a peaceful thing it is, and it's quite hard to snap yourself out of it. So I'm thinking now these are the spirits of the other world calling him to let himself drown in the sea. And trying to think of this as a more positive experience. I think I'm quite a spiritual person. I think about things like what happens when you die. I think about those things quite a lot. And quite a lot of my paintings have things in them like these, like that little face there. It's just, sometimes when I'm going to sleep at night and I'm in that half wake, half sleep, I just see all these faces and they're not people I know. And I think they're these people. They're not particular people, or the animals aren't particular animals, but I imagine beings or spiritual beings that are there. And I'm now thinking that they're calling the man into their world. And as far as mythology goes, I don't consciously put a lot of mythology, like, written down myth into my work. I quite like painting on objects because I like the idea of creating an object of power. After I'd done the painting on the other side, I always write my name and the date and the title on the back. And then I thought, I felt very strongly I wanted to write the story of the man drowning on the back, so that, if I was to sell this painting, or if it was going, after I die, wherever it goes, people will know what it's about. They won't have to wonder what it's about. And I think, this is like, the whole process of painting and of writing, to me, if I write by hand like this, it is like you're kind of doing a ritual. And I think because this is about a very specific thing that happened, and maybe, it got a little bit stuck inside me thinking about that man. And so it's almost a ritual to try and move it on, to move I don't want that man to be stuck inside of me and so I'm thinking about him in a negative way. And already it has worked, because I've had a conversation with someone today about what it's like to drown, and apparently it's the most peaceful thing, and it's hard to drag yourself back into the real world. So I feel my ritual about, getting that outside of me into the world is working.
My name's Isabel, and I'm one of the judges on the Odyssey Open exhibition. One of my favourite works in the exhibition is by Alexi Marshall. It's a 2-metre lino cut of a sort of mysterious woman, and it's got that narrative, it's got a mystery to it, it combines elements of folk tale. So I studied printmaking, so it resonates with me on that sort of level. I know that working on a big scale like that with print is really difficult and it has its own challenges. But I love it when you can see the layers of the ink and you can see the marks of the tool, and the way the layers are built up with the colours and the space around the woman is really fantastic. So I've had an amazing time being a judge on this exhibition. It's been amazing to see everybody's artworks, and there's so many great submissions. I know from personal experience, having entered lots of exhibitions like this, I feel like it can be quite a lonely life for an artist. You're working in the studio on your own quite a lot of the time. So having a group exhibition like this and an open call is really important to be part of, and it brings artists together. and you get to exhibit in an amazing space like this at Hastings Contemporary Gallery.